I didn't expect this any more than you did, but I guess Kenya Barris just brings the hater out of me, and you know what I always say. Nothing like a little haterade to get the creative juices flowing. I've never said it like that, but still. Even though I said I didn't see myself delving back into this so soon, but that I was beginning to feel inspired again, I didn't expect this at all. But it's been about a month since I watched this movie, and I still find myself being really annoyed by it. You People is a Netflix original comedy directed by Kenya Barris and co-written by the opposite of a dynamic duo, Jonah Hill and Kenya Barris. I like Jonah Hill, for the record. And before I start getting mean, I want to make it clear I like a lot of people in this movie. Despite the fact Kenya Barris was writing it or co-writing it and directing it, I was still kind of looking forward to it because I fuck with Eddie Murphy. And in my defense, the last time Eddie Murphy did a Netflix original, it was one of the best movies I'd ever seen that year. Whew. It's a little rough out here. But it was amazing and incredible, and I loved every second of it. Dolomite is my name. Get educated if you're not already. So despite what I felt in my heart, despite the subpar teaser and the even more subpar trailer, I was still kind of looking forward to it because I figured even if it was bad, which guaranteed to be, at least there was Eddie Murphy to make things better. And Eddie Murphy's character ended up being the most unfunny person in the building. I don't mind the concept. As they say, there's nothing new under the sun. Every story is one story after all. A movie doesn't have to reinvent the wheel to be good. It just has to be good, or if it's not good, at least entertaining. You People is neither, so. And the thing is, I don't even know where to start. The pacing, the overall laziness, the low-hanging fruit of comedy, the complete evaporation of Eddie Murphy's charisma, the CGI kiss, where do I begin? As I said before, conceptually, You People is fine. It's simple, straight to the point, and doesn't need to be more complex than that. No one is asking for this to be a deep analysis of race relations in America. No one is asking for a blind spotting or a passing. And most definitely, no one in the world is asking for Crash. Just in case you were going there, I don't know. But as with most creative blunders, the failure is not so much with the idea as it is with the execution. Holler at me, MLK statue in Boston, where the only reason people up there don't use the hard R is because they can't pronounce it. Let's look at Guess Who as an example. Why Guess Who? Because I want to talk about Bernie Mac and I don't need a reason. Guess Who is a good execution of the Meet the Parents interracial couple movie for a few reasons, but the first one that comes to mind is that the relationship between our main couple, Teresa and Simon, is already established. They've been together for a minute. They live together, they're committed to each other, they've already combined their income, they are serious. I mean, when the movie starts, Teresa is packing for a pre-planned trip back to New Jersey where Simon is finally going to meet her family and they're going to announce their engagement. The reason this take works and You People doesn't is simply because of pacing and realism. Also, Guess Who has been called a remake of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, but honestly, I think it's more of a reimagining part homage. It's quite different in tone and everything, so not a direct remake. I know you're probably wondering why I am not focusing on Guess Who's Coming to Dinner specifically, and the answer is I've thought long and hard about it, and I've decided I don't want to. So, hope you can respect my privacy in this very difficult time. Comparatively, You People starts with Ezra being single and desperate. He then meets Amira, and over the course of a fuzzy amount of time, they fall deeply in love and decide to meet each other's parents and get engaged. Also, many of these movies are about marrying a significant other, which I personally don't think is necessary. Marriage is presented as this end-all be-all, as if these people don't have the option of just getting divorced after 90 days, rather than presenting their union as serious and devout because of their love and commitment for one another. Marriage is often thrown in to raise the stakes, and I don't always feel it pays off. And Guess Who? It works. And You People? Pacing, for the love of God, pacing. There's no sense of time in You People, and I don't mean that you as an audience member get so involved in the story that you don't realize how much time is passing. In fact, if you're like me, you were constantly jump scared by how much time was actually left in the film because you thought you were safe and it was over. I mean that if not for the graffiti font title cards to represent the culture, I wouldn't know if this movie takes place over the course of a year, a few months, a few weeks. I mean, sure, I can surmise and put things together using deductive reasoning, but like the seasons don't change, the characters and their clothing barely changes, and most importantly, the chemistry between Ezra and Amira never exists at any point. What we're looking at is a story that takes place over the course of 9 months. And it doesn't feel like that at all. Compare that to something like 500 Days of Summer, for example, where we're bouncing around from different days throughout the relationship of Tom and Summer. We have some days in the beginning when they're just starting to find their spark in each other. We have some days toward the end where they're both really unhappy, Sid and Nancy. And we have a day when they reunite post-breakup. And time in 500 Days of Summer feels real and involved. I believe this much time has passed because there are so many different stages of the relationship down to the familiarity between Tom and Summer and the way they just touch each other. So Amira and Ezra meet during a mishap trying really hard to be meet cute, and they fall in love during a montage set to Childish Gambino. Let me just say, I do love a good montage, and maybe I would be fine with this montage if Lauren London and Jonah Hill had any chemistry. If I already believed they were attracted to each other and romantically interested in one another, maybe a montage of them falling in love would be fine. But because these people don't have chemistry, it is unsatisfactory, ineffective, lazy, and I still don't believe they like each other beyond being two people that work together. When you have two people who do have chemistry, you don't have to work as hard to make it seem like they're falling in love. The story and their journey should still be compelling, but there's no reason to overdo it. When you have two people who don't have chemistry, first of all, why didn't you do a chemistry read? Huh? And if we did, who gave it a passing grade? I just want to know. Second of all, if they don't have chemistry, but for some reason this is the cast you must work with, you have to work harder on that aspect, especially because Amira and Ezra, unlike Simon and Teresa, do not have an established relationship. We're seeing all of this develop from the very beginning. So we not only have to see them fall in love, we have to fall in love with them, and that never happens in this movie. Their love story is rushed to make room for the most important element in any relationship: the people who are not in that relationship. We don't really stick around to get to know who Amira and Ezra are as individuals or how they operate in their relationship because we just do a montage, skip forward 6 months, and they meet each other's parents. Then we spend the rest of the movie with them trying to win over and get to know their future in-laws. So even though this is a story partially about fighting for a relationship despite the disapproval or ignorance of your parents, we, as the audience, don't have much of a relationship to hold on to or root for, which makes the story especially uncompelling. Is that a word? Uncompelling? Uncompelling. Alright. And I guess if you squint and feign ignorance, we could even excuse that if the story offered any entertainment as the comedy it is supposed to be. This is not funny. Apart from a handful of jokes near the beginning, the movie is about as funny as a natural disaster that claims the life of millions, but even that would get an emotional response out of someone. It's just painfully, boldly, aggressively, unapologetically unfunny. At a certain point, I felt bad because I could see these jokes building up from a mile away, and I would hope that this one little joke would pay off. The little joke that could. Only for it to bleed before the punchline. And the worst part is that you get the feeling that every joke, every uncomfortable situation created to yield laughter was thought to be a brilliant piece of writing or a brilliant piece of improv. Why do I say it seems like everyone thought it was brilliant? Because this movie's way too fucking long and most of the runtime is wasted on these scenes that go on forever when they could have ended, or let's be honest, could have just not began at all. Could have just been an idea that never made it to the final draft. Could have just not. Just entirely not.
With a theme, lock that down.
Which is disappointing considering this is a movie that stars Eddie Murphy. I don't think this is Eddie's fault though. I think the character is just terribly written and would have been terribly written in anyone else's hands. Imagine getting Eddie Murphy in your movie and giving him so little to do and rendering his charisma non-existent. Why is this character so stale, so boring? Where is Eddie's charm? Have you seen it? We are running out of time. Even the situations created to make Ezra uncomfortable aren't effective. There's a scene where the two of them are in the car and Eddie is trying really hard to get Ezra to say the N-word or testing him to see if he'll say it. We already know where it's going long before it gets there, and it lasts longer than it needs to. Then, in another attempt to watch him slip up, Eddie takes him to play basketball in the hopes of embarrassing him because apparently you people exist in a universe where white man can't jump never happened. The last attempt is when Ezra and his buddies go to Las Vegas for his bachelor party and Eddie sticks around to prevent Ezra from having any fun. This is nothing. We can't even find humor in the desperation of Eddie to catch Ezra slipping.
You know what? What's the title of this song again? I forgot the name of this song. It's so provocative.
Let's go back to Guess Who again because I miss Bernie Mac.
Knew you'd be down here sooner or later. Bring some more of that sexy lingerie for me to try.
What is wrong with you, boy? Don't you have your own underwear?
Percy plays a lot of mind games with Simon to get him to slip up. I think the most memorable one is when he lures Simon into a false sense of comfort by telling him to repeat a black joke Simon had overheard at a family event. Simon tells the first joke and it's pretty offenseless. Every time, Simon is a bit nervous about telling the joke, and every time the joke goes over fairly well with the whole family. We already know where it's going, but it's still funny when it gets there and he tells a joke that goes too far and pisses everyone off. You people's moment of the basketball test reminded me of another moment in Guess Who, but in Guess Who, the scene has more to do with Percy trying to catch Simon in a lie than trying to embarrass him. In You People, Eddie takes Ezra to the basketball court, I guess because all black people are good at basketball, which I didn't get the memo on. Eddie takes out his phone to record what he thinks is going to be a series of athletic blunders on Ezra's part. Why am I calling this character Eddie? What the fuck? Only for Ezra to be pretty good at basketball. I'm not gonna go there. And Guess Who? Simon lacks all athletic ability, but Percy is unimpressed by that and keeps pressing, so eventually Simon lies and says he raced in NASCAR. Big mistake.
Why did you lie about NASCAR? My father loves NASCAR.
It's NASCAR, baby. That's like the widest sport on the planet.
Not anymore, Simon.
Baby, there's like NASCAR and hockey. Hockey. I should have went with hockey.
Percy doesn't buy it for a second, so he takes Simon racing on go-karts just to see if any of that alleged experience he had transfers over. It's not about a black or white stereotype. He's not trying to embarrass Simon in front of Teresa or anyone else. He literally just doesn't trust him and is looking for lies to catch him in. It makes sense. The scene adds a bit of levity, and I personally think its overall place in the story is fine. Whereas the basketball scene in You People, or the barbershop scene, or the wig pulling scene, these are just not funny. They're tired. I mean, what is this, September 9th of 1991?
I'm stuck in a basement sitting on a tricycle, girl getting on my nerves. Going out of my mind, I thought she was fine, don't know if her body is hers.
I could excuse so many of this movie's cons if any of it was worth a single laugh, but instead of laughing at every joke as the movie went on, I just felt myself getting angrier that this movie had the gall to call itself a comedy. Also, the car scene with Jonah and Eddie in You People only calls to mind the car scene in Guess Who between Bernie and Ashton, and all I could think about was how much more effective one was over the other. There's still the discomfort of being in a car with someone who doesn't like you, the awkward silence and the tension. There's even a radio stunt, except in Guess Who, the stunt is that all the songs playing on the radio keep alluding to interracial relationships. But there's also a real joke in Guess Who, which is all built up on the fact that Percy just doesn't trust Simon and doesn't want him to ever be right.
Looks like rain.
Nope.
I don't know, those clouds look pretty threatening.
I live here, I know the weather.
Good thing it isn't raining.
It's not rain, it's sprinkling.
You might want to turn on the windshield wipers.
I will once it starts raining.
Whereas with You People, specifically the car scene, I'm not sure a joke ever actually happens. There's an attempt at a joke, there's gesturing toward a joke, but the joke itself doesn't actually exist. Are these even people? Do we have proof? People in this story do not act like people, which is why I'm beginning to think You People might be the great alien movie of 2023. Last year we had Nope. But this year, Kenya Barris has taken the reins. No one in this movie acts like a real person. I've met Nation of Islam Hoteps many times, but even Eddie Murphy's character feels like an SNL sketch, written by Elon Musk. It doesn't feel like an actual NOI Hotep that walks among us like Keanu Reeves. Why do you say that? That was so out of pocket for no reason. And I know ignorant people exist. I watch r/public freakout just like the rest of you. But I mean, there's no humanity to these characters at all. There are no layers. There's no complexity. Not even with a character like Ezra, who, reminder, is our main character. The character writing is abysmal, it's lazy, and it's insulting because why the fuck is Nia Long in a movie and she doesn't have shit to do? Why are we wasting Nia Long's time? I don't like that. This movie is so dedicated, ready to fall on its sword to protect the jokes that aren't even funny, that there's no time shared to developing characters who feel grounded in reality. Case in point, these characters meet and fall in love and decide to get married after 6 months. Weird, but okay. They meet each other's parents, try to make it work, can't make it work, break off the engagement, call off the wedding, and they don't see each other for 3 months. They are broken up for 3 months. I don't know if you heard me. They are broken up for 3 months, and after being reunited for 5 minutes, they get married. I get agitated just thinking about it. Nothing in the span of 3 months happened that you guys feel the need to talk about? You guys didn't change or grow in 3 months? You think you're on the same wavelength still after 3 months of separation? Y'all just gonna go get married like that? You don't wanna just start dating again? If that, y'all gonna talk about it? No, just fake a kiss? Alright. Fuck you too. Characterization leaves a lot to be desired. Amira never feels like a fully realized person, and as I was watching, I was thinking, this is all Lauren London, meaning that Amira as a character has so little substance that Lauren London just did what she could to make her feel like a real human being. There's not much to Amira, so Lauren is left to do the heavy lifting and just kind of being Lauren. And even though it sucks that the script gives her so little, I prefer having at least Lauren to work with as opposed to what Hill and Barris end up doing with Akbar. I wish Akbar had half of Eddie's charisma. You want to know the real reason I'm bothered by this movie? The real reason I'm back to making a video after all those dramatics about retiring? I am personally offended that Eddie Murphy is reduced to bland tofu in this movie. Personally offended. I said to my buddy, who's not really my buddy, can't stand that guy, that it felt like they hired Eddie and said, you know how you have all that charisma? Well, you don't anymore. Also, Akbar's motivations are entirely biased. He doesn't get the grace that Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character gets of being plain ignorant. He doesn't get the complexity, he just gets bias. That could have been something, but of course it ended up being nothing. And the only motivation he has for not wanting Ezra and Amira to be together is that Ezra is white, which again, could work. I could appreciate him having a scene where he breaks down his personal experiences with white people and how those experiences informed his view and his hatred. But we don't get that, and he perpetuates black stereotypes in an attempt to make Ezra feel uncomfortable. Is he good at basketball? Can he handle the jests directed toward him in a black barbershop? Babe, what is this? What is this, babe? I'll talk about Bernie Mac one more time and then I'll be done. And if I'm not, who cares? Percy in Guess Who admits he has a bias against Simon, but it also stems from a general distrust of Simon entirely. Like I said before, his whole thing isn't that he's trying to prove Simon isn't black enough to marry his daughter. He knows he's not black. He can tell. We can all tell. He's not relying on black stereotypes to see if Simon can kick it at the cookout. Once again, he's trying to prove that Simon can't be trusted because he doesn't trust him. Does he have a reason for not trusting Simon? No. So he spends the whole movie looking for one and trying to catch Simon in lies. That to me seems more human than taking your future son-in-law to play basketball because the fact that he can't play basketball means he's not black enough for your daughter. It's like... It's like that scene in This Is the End where there's a huge split in the structure of the house and Seth Rogen tries to fix it with duct tape. I have to be honest. I have never really responded to Kenya Barris's shows. Not that that's a bad thing, they just aren't my thing. Different outfit, still me. I personally find many of his explorations of what it is to be black not so much explorations as they are toe dips into a kiddie pool. But that's not to say there isn't merit in these shows or that every black creator has a duty to only create media that has something to say about the culture, that has to prove its blackness. In fact, I'd argue that for many of Kenya Barris's critics, his work feels like it's often trying to prove its blackness, when the fact that these stories are led by black characters is what makes it black. I mean, remember the titles for the episodes of Black as Fuck?
So many things to do, each day is something new. I'll share them with you, I'm Caillou.
Also, A lot of people get a lot of joy out of his shows, and that's never a bad thing. That being said, I usually don't watch a whole lot of his projects because I feel they all suffer from two common things. Number one, a concept that reeks of blackness having to be defined by anything other than blackness. And number two, an irrational but very apparent fear of dark-skinned black women. Kenya Barris is very popular in some houses and very controversial in others. My first real introduction to him as a creator was shortly after the colorism episode of Grownish aired. Before that, I knew of the show Blackish, but I didn't know who was behind it until he tried to tackle colorism while maintaining colorism. This episode has been talked about a lot, so I'll try to make this quick. Grownish, if you don't know, is a Blackish spinoff that follows Zoe on her collegiate adventures, a different world in the modern era. In the episode titled It's Hard Out Here for a Pimp, the character Aaron is pointed out as someone who only dates light-skinned women. What does he do? He brings a character called Shakura to his friends just to prove, I guess, that he can talk to a dark-skinned woman, because it's not like they were on a date, it's not like they're going on a date. And you know something funny about Shakura? She's the first dark-skinned black actress to appear on this show, and she's used as a human prop for Aaron to make himself feel better, and we literally never see her again. It's an episode about colorism almost exclusively covered by its mainly light-skinned cast. There are still a barrage of issues there, and smarter people have unpacked it, and I'm just gonna link their stuff below. Please check it out. The colorism aspect appears across a lot of Kenya's work, and it's present in You People too, because why is Lauren London the daughter of Eddie Murphy and Nia Long? So far I've said a lot of positive things about Guess Who, so here's a negative. Both You People and Guess Who, and too many other TV shows and movies to count, commit to expanding the light-skinned cinematic universe. Zoe Saldana as the daughter of Bernie Mac, Lauren London as the daughter of Eddie Murphy.
How am I the darkest person in the room?
Bold of you, Kenya. Bold of you to write that in there when you so easily could have changed it. This line also bothers me because Eddie Murphy says it while there was clearly a darker skinned man sitting right behind him, and I don't know who saw that and thought, yeah, great, we're good. But also this line, this whole scene in You People, is another example of Kenya Barris making big gestures toward talking about something, but in the most shallow way possible. There's a tweet that put it in words way better than I could. How did it go? Kenya Barris is obsessed with talking about race without actually saying anything of substance. A lot going on, but nothing happening. And I'm just gonna add that I find it so funny that he gives Eddie Murphy's character this line.
This is your white granddaddy come back to haunt me. And it started off by him putting them strong-ass genes in you that lighten up the coffee in my babies.
As if he already anticipates that there's going to be backlash for Lauren London playing the daughter of Eddie Murphy and Nia Long. So he knew what he was doing. He anticipated the backlash and was like, no, but here's a reason, see, I explained it, so you can't call me a colorist there. It's there in the Cheaper by the Dozen reboot too, which was awful, but so clearly didn't need to be. I watched that movie because I'll watch anything with Gabrielle Union in it. And the most frustrating thing wasn't that it was bad, but that there were so many solid ideas there that, if proper care had been given to them, could have been amazingly executed. But they were shallow ideas thrown in half-heartedly like a 9th grader writing an essay breaking down a book they only read the Wikipedia summary for. And with that, we're kind of going full circle, because this thing starts and ends with lazy story building, lazy characterization, lazy commentary, and lazy execution. Exactly like this video, so I can say that. I'd like to take this opportunity to highlight better videos that get into the Kenya Barris of it all, which is a real subgenre of video essays. So check out Sholay's video about the unholy POC trinity, which includes Mindy Kaling, Tyler Perry, and Kenya Barris. Nightmare blunt rotation. And there's also a really great line in there that I felt too deeply.
I'm gonna say this. I'm not going to go ahead and go as far back to the Mammy characters and the blackface and the Madonna / horror complex. I'm not doing that. No, ma'am, I'm not. I'm not the one. I'm not trying to re-traumatize myself just for a video this year. No.
You know what? I'm keeping this energy going forward. I'm protecting my peace. So I'm done now. And Kenya Barris got me out here looking stupid. Said I was gonna take a break, and here I am back after 6 months. 6 months. It's not even a break, it's a timeout. But don't worry, I'm gonna go back and, dive back into the hole I crawled out of. Until next time.